Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. The voice of the Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atin sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. Kawan ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugo, todo sa kayod, tunong at tulong. Di pagka Blue Eagle, galing hiding at tigil.
Response of the human being to a given situation, even a crisis situation, requires rationality. And so we are hard-pressed by our being human to be rational, to ask the right and good questions with regard to the pandemic. And this is the reason why we thought of coming up with a show that will feature science experts in dialogue with other experts in fields other than science who are not necessarily doctors, because we get that already from the DOH pressers. But we also want to be able to give a venue to our listeners who might have all sorts of questions. I have students who I have never heard from a long time who chat me up at FB asking me all kinds of questions. The philosophical questions I answer, but most of their questions are questions best left for scientists to answer. And so we still have our group of science experts who have been monitoring the situation and hopefully preparing us for eventual reopening. Let's see if we are ready for that. So just to call the roll before we introduce our special guest panelist today is Benj. Benj, are you there? Good afternoon. Can you greet our listeners?
So, good afternoon to all the listeners at Radyo Katipunan. Thank you again for inviting me to give my views for today's program.
All right. The next is Butch Ong. Butch, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for inviting me again. It was a very good show last week, and sana maraming matutunan din yung mga audience today.
All right. The next is Lex Muga. Lex.
Yes, yeah. Good afternoon. Maraming salamat din sa pag-imbita sa akin dito sa Radyo Katipunan. Totoo yan, marami kong natutunan kahapon last week pala, hinggil sa Lagundi at saka sa DCO. Okay.
All right. Then Jomar. Jomar, all the way from Los Baños.
Yes, hello, magandang hapon. Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for having me here. And sana magkaroon tayo ng fruitful na discussion today.
All right. Nagbebenta pa ba ng buko pie?
Ay, yan ang hindi ko alam. Hindi pa ako nakakabalik ng buko pie doon. Medyo sa ibang side kasi siya.
All right. And then, of course, we have our student co-anchors before we introduce our special guests, Bam and Alessandra. Bam?
Hi everyone.
How are you, Bam? Are you still in Providence?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm at home, still alive.
All right. And then Alessandra, I didn't see if Alessandra was there.
I'm here.
Oh, there's Alessandra. Alessandra, are you set for the intercession? Are you taking classes during the intercession, the first online classes?
I don't have intercession this year.
All right. So maybe in the first step, right? And so let's introduce our special guest because the question that we're going to ask this week will be whether we're right to open business again. So I thought of asking someone who is in the business world, who's also my batchmate, but is a very prominent media personality as well, Mr. Apa Ongpin. Apa, are you there? You want to greet our listeners?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Apa Ongpin. I graduated from Ateneo in 1987, so I'm probably old enough to be your parents. But I have had, I don't know, maybe about 25 years of experience in the corporate world. Some of it has to do with media, but my perspective is from the corporate world. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I have my own business, and I face a separate set of issues being an entrepreneur.
All right. So, why don't you start us off, Apa? What are your thoughts on the pandemic and whether business is ripe to reopen?
Well, the number one issue really is, can we contain the spread of the disease? It's literally a life and death issue. So that has taken precedence, rightly, over whether or not we can open businesses. Now, at some point, I guess the people in charge are going to decide that we have flattened the curve enough, or whatever you want to call it, to the point where we can cautiously begin to reopen businesses. Now, what kind of businesses do we need to reopen? The number one kind of business that we really need to reopen is manufacturing and production of basic goods. Okay, the important thing is in the general quarantine areas or GCQ or whatever. The rural areas which have not really seen the same numbers of cases. We've got to let those guys do everything. All right, but with protective measures. There's really something called the new normal, where we really have to minimize physical interaction between people. We really need to do as many things as we can online. And, this is a huge challenge. Our central bank is actually very advanced in thinking, and they have been studying things like virtual currency for some time. But now we really need to accelerate these things, GCash and PayMaya. We really need to be able to make those systems mainstream in order to minimize physical interaction. Now, the reason that I say manufacturing and these other kinds of services are important is because they employ a lot of people at the lower end of the pay. These are the people who really need to go back to work. Business executives and do a lot of work from home. But I'm talking about the people who work with their hands, the people who...
So we should have our group of scientists. So people who work with their hands. Yeah.
So those are the important people who have to go back to work because they really need the income. And we are spending a huge amount of government funds to support these people. It's unprecedented. Not since like World War II has the government had to support this many people. But that's what we're doing.
So do you think business has to reopen immediately, or can it still hold out, or is it?
Well, yeah, it can hold out, but there will be losses. As an entrepreneur, I face enormous losses. I'm in the travel industry, and now what? I mean, we're not going to see any tourists here for, I don't know, maybe until 2021 second semester. So right now, I have to figure out. I've got a payroll, right? I've got 6 employees. I have a payroll of about 100,000 pesos a month. How am I going to support that? How am I going to continue paying these people if I have no revenue, right? So these are the kind of questions that I face.
All right. We'll see if our science experts can give us light. So who wants to start off? Who wants to give their update and their views on whether business should open? Butch, you want to start us off?
All right. Okay. Well, for us, for the doctors or the healthcare profession, there was talk of herd immunity before letting the businesses run. Herd immunity is the ability of a community or a society to be protected against any disease. And we can achieve herd immunity if, one, we are vaccinated, or secondly, there are a lot of people who have survived the contagion. No? So far, we don't have a vaccine, and the majority of the Filipinos still have not had COVID, thankfully. But indeed, the economy of the country has to run. My clinics, actually, they've been closed for the last few weeks, and I just reopened this week. And konti pa lang dumating na pasyente, natatakot sila pumunta sa labas no? But I suppose when we open the economy, when we open commerce, the avenues of commerce, kailangan talaga mas strict yung ating regulations with regards to PPEs, personal protective equipment, and administrative preventive rules sa companies, no? Para lang hindi maging nidus for infection yung mga buildings, yung mga workplaces. I do agree we have to open very soon, no? Kung hindi magka-crash yung economy natin, and a lot of people need to go back to work. So for at least for medicine, yung ating cases dumadami na ulit. Yesterday 300. Ang dami, no? New cases. And we're seeing a lot of new cases from Visayas also. So now it's Luzon and then Visayas. Dumadami na uli. So kailangan siguro mas discipline tayo. Mas siguro yung ating pang-araw-araw na new normal, masanay na tayo. Social distancing and everything. We have to get the vaccine. Yes, we have to get the vaccine, and we have to get a cure. So far, we only have experimental drugs. Wala pa tayong cure. So hopefully within the next before May ends, sana may light at the end of the tunnel with regards to treatment, and sana bumaba na yung ating daily number of cases.
So maybe who can answer why the cases are still going up? What about Bench? What's your update?
Well, in cases, I think it's better for the epidemiologists to answer. My point is, I agree with Butch that we should start considering the reopening of the economy. But we have to evaluate all the risks. Okay? We don't have, I don't know, probably there is somewhere, but our government hasn't used, I don't think we still have that risk assessment. Let's say we open the services industry. What is the risk of additional infections? May mga ganyan ng estimates in other countries, no? For example, ang John Hopkins School of Public Health, they have a risk assessment that was sent to the US state governors. Although hindi siya quantitative because mahirap talaga mag-quantitative ngayon, it's more qualitative. For instance, what is the risk if they're open, if the public school system is open? Okay? Whether partially or fully, meron na silang ganyan, whether it is positive, medium, or negative outcomes. Also, they also have a risk estimate if service industry, especially ngayon, people want to go to the salon or barber shop, what is the risk if that happens? Okay, how many new infections? May mga ganun na sila. Okay,
you'll be surprised. There are areas where the barber shops are open.
See, those are important necessities din naman, no? Supermarket, they also have a risk. If they open the supermarkets as normal, what are the risks? If they restrict, what is the risk? And also, one of the most notable that I've read is libraries, no? In Europe and in the US, low risk ang library, and the reason is because very few people go to the library anymore, and the library and museum can easily control the number of people that can access the services, no? But sa atin, yung library hindi natin bubuksan, di ba? According to the guidelines. We need a decision matrix for that, and that will be informed by the epidemiological data and also yung contribution of those businesses to the economy. So sabi nga ni Apa, we should start opening na yung manufacturing, no? I can see nagkakaroon ng supply problem at least dito sa atin, and it's even worse in the provinces. The reason is because some of my research collaborators are in Bicol, nagkakaproblema na sila doon. So may shortages na, and it's because our supply, manufacturing of these goods or processing hasn't opened fully yet. So yun yung mga risks na kailangan natin tingnan. And all of that is...
Sige, we'll follow up on that later. Lex, what's your update? Sir Lex? What about Jomar? There's Lex.
Okay. So kanina binanggit na nasa 320 kahapon yung confirmed cases, no? Mahalaga kasing makita na yung pagbibigay ng confirmed cases ay accurate kasi doon nagdi-depend yung pag-compute natin ng reproduction number. Kaso nga lang, ang DOH mayroong backlog eh. Noong May 4, nag-report yung mga testing labs na mga 12,455 positives. Pero kahapon, 320 or mga 10,004 na, kaya ibig sabihin may backlog na mga 2,000 plus, 2,000.5. Kaya ibig sabihin ngayon baka pwedeng aabot ng 2,000 yung confirmed positive. Mahirap i-compute sa R yun eh. Yun ang problem eh. Kung kailangan talagang accurate na data na hindi pa binibigay ng DOH. Yan.
All right. Jomar, do you concur with Lex's analysis?
Yes, actually there are many backlogs sa testing ang ating government, and I think possibly a large portion of those reported probably yesterday ay backlog pa din. And if we're going to look actually at the data, even hindi lang yung new cases, no, even the number of deaths, number of recoveries, maraming delay. And if we're going to look at the data nga, marami doon na nagkasakit nung early March until now hindi pa nare-report na gumagaling. So if we're going to look at that, malayo talaga yung delay. So hindi natin alam ano talaga yung actual situation, which is dapat yun yung unahin din ng DOH na ayusin. Because if we want to have a good decision, kailangan maayos yung data natin. With regards din naman dun sa opening the businesses, yes, sobrang laki ng sacrifices natin in terms of the economy kapag nagtuloy-tuloy yung ECQ. So we really need to find other strategies that could also have the same benefit as the ECQ, like having mass testing, isolation, contact tracing, para makapag-open yung mga businesses natin. So we need to do cost-benefit analysis dito. And
What's that? Cross
benefit analysis.
benefit analysis.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
And
yes. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Nag-agree din ako na we need to have a decision matrix. If lalo na sa mga companies, yung mga HR departments, they need to have this kind of decision tools para malaman nila ano yung risk ng bawat mga taong papasok. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Apa?
Yes, I'm here.
What do you think will be the considerations of business? Let's say manufacturers when they decide to reopen. What are the questions they'll be asking themselves?
Well, the last few statements have focused on things like testing and contact tracing. Those are actually, they have been the most important weapons in fighting this pandemic from the beginning. Unfortunately, our incompetent government has only lately realized, okay? I'm sorry, you sound like an oppositionist or whatever, but this is the fact, right? We started calling, people started calling for mass testing in February, okay? In February. People just realized, importante pala yung testing, In February, we had 3 laboratories. I don't believe that we had 3 laboratories that were capable in February. I believe it was only from fine, whatever. There are 20. Okay, there are 20. But you know how many Vietnam has? Vietnam has 112. Okay, there's 112 laboratories. They also started out with 3 in January. And so these guys are sitting on their butts with regard to testing and contact tracing. We need that information in the corporate world to make quality decisions. We're going to ask our people to come back to work.
So do you think, I thought I saw somewhere that some of these businesses are going to conduct the testing themselves. Do you think that's the way to go, or should government still push for this itself?
Well, yeah, obviously the businesses who have the kind of resources to do it should do it, right? And they're going to do it, but they can only do within their own populations. We really need the data for the whole country. We need the data for the cities that we live in. We need the data for the regions, the provinces, so we can see, are we going to let people in? Are we going to let people out? We cannot make these judgments just with data from our own company. Okay, let's look at my little business with my 6 employees, right? I can get them tested. It's a little expensive. It's $5,000 a test, but I can do it, right? Remember,
yes.
Testing is $5,000, but you got to get it tested about at least twice. Okay, so okay,
10,000.
I'll get them tested. But what use is it knowing that they're COVID-free if they have to interact with other people? I don't know what the risk is. When I send the guy to the hardware store to buy plywood, is he going to catch it from the hardware store guys? These are the kinds of decisions that I need to make.
Correct. All right. So do you have an answer to that first before we go to the students' questions? Like Butch,
Yeah.
did we set up more testing centers?
We should actually have more testing centers. The question remains if the corporate industry would like to take on the part of the responsibility of reporting. No, remember, sa occupational medicine, each company physician is supposed to quarterly report its accidents or any mortality or morbidity in the workplace. That's quarterly, no, required. Pero ngayon dapat siguro daily nagre-report yung mga companies. Secondly, yung mga companies, some of them, if they're too big, baka hindi kayang i-test lahat ng mga tao. Ganun sinabi kanina, how much is a test? About 5,000 pesos. Kung i-test natin a company with 300 people, masyadong mamagat yan para sa isang company to take on, no? And besides, hindi siguro magiging advisable na each testing center would have different standards. Each company would have different standards. Remember the case in point about Marikina? Nahirapan silang kumuha ng approval for their testing center from the Department of Health, no? They said it was too small. Maraming factors, no? And that's just one. Isang testing center lang yan na kailangan aprubahan ng Department of Health. Paano pa kaya kung mga maliliit na companies? With a lot of people, masyado malaki ang cost. Pangalawa, the standard and quality of the testing might not be assured, no? So we might get false negatives sa mga instances na yon.
All right. So what about Bam and Alessandra? Did you round up questions from your batchmates or your friend? Bam.
Hi. Actually, this came from my blockmates. Because we're newly graduates. We just graduated this year. So their question is, this morning, the PSE issued a press release saying that the GDP decline was by 0.2% in the first quarter of 2020. This is surprising because in the first quarter, ECQ was only 2 weeks. So ano yung forecasts nila with the economy after, and how does a fresh graduate position himself or herself in the economy? And not that, how do we protect ourselves if a second wave does hit us?
All right. I think, Apa, you want to take that on about the GDP?
Yeah, I do, actually. In the new economy, the post-COVID economy, one of the things that's going to be really important is technology, right? I mean, look at us. We're all talking on a Zoom call right now, okay? And it will be very important if you want to get a job to be able to demonstrate in your profile and in your interactions with people, look, I'm familiar with technology and I can enable this technology for business. That's a very good advantage to have, right there. Okay, are people going to be hiring? Yes, there are going to be some people hiring. If what you're looking for is employment, maybe it won't pay all that well. Maybe it's some kind of an internship just with an allowance or something. But you know what? Take it, because during a crisis like this, during a time when circumstances are not normal, and it asks for more from people, that's your opportunity to prove how good you are. And I would say, this is an unprecedented thing. It's like wartime, you know what I mean? And think about how you could enable a business in a time where, things are really changing. As I said, personal, physical interaction needs to be minimized. So businesses need solutions for that. They need technological solutions above all. And young graduates like you, that's how you should present yourself. You should say, look, I'm so familiar with this technology and I can help enable this business to move into that mode.
So they shouldn't be looking at the GDP. They should just be looking at their capacities, what they can contribute to the businesses.
I'm not a religious person. I think the JVP program is good for many other reasons. One of the things that makes the JVP program so special is it exposes you to rural poverty. The fundamental problem of this country is rural poverty. It is, we've been supporting our industries and now we're supporting these goddamn pogos, for so long, and we've been ignoring the rural poverty, which is really at the core of social inequality. And therefore, I would never tell someone, don't do the JVP, because you go out into the province, you see this stuff firsthand, you live with these people, you learn their concerns, you see? And that,
I was asking about the GDP. The GDP. It was domestic product.
Oh,
Anyway.
your audio is really bad. You're in a radio station, but I can't hear you what you're saying.
It's all right. It's all right. Alessandra, do you have questions?
Yes, actually. One of the questions is, will there ever be a normal again? Like, will we ever go back to having a normal society or way of living?
That seems like a philosophical question, Alessandra.
No,
Do you want a business point of view there? Is that like a
yes.
Yeah, all right.
Business,
Apa, anyone can answer it. Apa, do you think business will ever go back to normal?
I really hope it doesn't. I really hope that this crisis will teach us to be more efficient and to really build up our logistical and technological capabilities so that we become a better environment overall with more environmental factors, less pollution and better social justice. I mean, this is really what this crisis is showing us, the social injustice of our society. The reason that we have to support all of these people is because they have no savings. They live from day to day. They are starving because they are unable to work. What kind of a life is that? We've got to change that. And that's why we should never go back to the way things were.
All right. Bam, what was your last question? That sounded like a question for our statisticians. What was the third question that you had, Bam? Bam?
You're on mute, Bam.
Sorry. The question was, how do we protect ourselves if a second wave does hit us?
Oh, so the second wave. So who wants to get that question about the second wave? I don't think the first wave is over, but they're asking about the second wave. Butch?
Okay, actually, Apa was correct, no? Pero sa akin, I'd like to take it a little twist. The new normal, in my opinion, should have been the normal before. Like, everyone should wash your hands, right? Everyone should wear the proper protective equipment. If you work in a kitchen, you wear your apron or your cap. If you work in construction, you wear your boots and your hat. No? So yung new normal natin, I think this pandemic has actually taught us one thing, no? That our habits are really bad. No? Some habits are hard to break, no? Pero kailangan ngayon magbago na tayo. So with regards to the question on the second peak, I've mentioned it before that we must have some protection, vaccine. That's number one. Secondly, we have to have the cure or the drugs which are specific for COVID to minimize the risk for that second peak. And thirdly, the new normal. Everyone must get used to the new normal now. No? Marami nagreklamo, especially in the areas na medyo populated mga tao. It's hard to go around without bumping into each other. No, but we have to practice social distancing, protective equipment. We must learn from other countries. For example, you go to Hong Kong, you go to Singapore or Taiwan, for example, you see people wearing masks. Wala namang flu, wala namang season for any pandemic, but they still wear masks. So we should learn from experiences of other countries. No? The new normal, I think, will redefine our social habits from now on. And to digress from that, we're just inviting a second peak.
Lex and Jomar, do you have thoughts on the second wave?
Okay. Wala pa si Jomar, no? Kasi nung 1918 na pandemic, may second wave. Ang daming namatay kaysa first wave. No? Kaya paano ba natin iwasan yan? Yun, sama yung sinabi ni Dr. Butch, yung washing the hands, yung kailangan ng mga face mask. So sa tingin ko, yun lang yung nakikita ko pang pwedeng gawin. Ay, tama pala, natin na yung online, baka yung online teaching or mix ng online saka synchronous saka asynchronous teaching para yun ang natin, tawag dito, preparation sa second wave.
Alessandro, I have a question for you. So it seems that we will not go back to normal. How would you kids react to that?
Of course, it's a little scary, but I do believe that we can adapt and we should prepare to adapt to the new normal. For me, it was already quite inevitable, so I'm prepared, I guess.
Which part of the old normal are you nostalgic for?
Being able to go out without worrying, especially studying. Like, I miss going to campus, like especially now. So I think some people will miss that as well, being able to go out without having to worry about their health or other people's health and etc.
But it seems that the solution is easy: face mask and constant hand washing. Benj, it was hand washing day yesterday. Were you aware of that? International Day of Hand Washing.
Well, I heard about it, but I didn't think it was not today.
And we didn't celebrate it in this country.
I don't know. But I keep on washing my hands.
So that's really your STS, your Science and Technology and Society.
Okay, let me comment about yung normal, no? Kasi normal is a relative thing, no? Before it was normal for us to use the rotary phone. But now it's a different one. Now, with respect to about the economy, I think the worry of our younger generations about finding jobs, there will be the new normal. Will have new opportunities. No? For instance, I have a national research project that needs that we need to train people in different parts of the country. Ngayon, bawal na kasi according to civil service memo, na bawal na yung mga workshops. The usual, di ba? All these people from different regions of the country meet in Iloilo, then 2-day workshop, then they go back to their home regions. Hindi na pwede yun. So one of the opportunities that will open in this new normal is to develop mga remote learning tools, strategies for people who need those services, like yung mga for continuing education. So that's one. So the new graduates may think along that line. Marami talagang lilitaw na opportunities. We need creatives to do that. And the other one is for people with a science background, there will be a boom in research jobs related to public health and the medical science. Okay, that's almost expected because the government will probably sink in a few hundred millions in the next 2 years for research related to COVID and other infectious diseases. So people na bio majors, molecular bio, chemistry majors, there will be a job.
Ano daw, Ben? Kasi si Bam, ano yan Philo major.
No, but
anong pwedeng trabaho ni Bam?
Now, okay, let me give you some good news. Napapansin na rin ng ating science establishment the need for people in the humanities. Yung philo majors will fit in doon sa doon sa to identify education learning strategies for in a new normal na remote learning na karamihan lahat. Perhaps you may come up with a learning platform kasi Zoom, we're using Zoom, but some people say Zoom isn't really good for teaching. So perhaps you can create something like that.
So, Bam, do you have more questions? Let's say to Mr. Ongpin and or to any of our panelists, Bam and Sandra.
Actually, yeah. This just came up now. I thought about it, and I was thinking, we're all geared towards this new technology advancement thing, more modernizing the way we do things and stuff like that. But I don't think our country is prepared for the shift to technology, especially with, like, for example, we have a very poor internet connection. Not even, I think one of the main reasons why Ateneo decided to call off online classes was because not everyone had access or had a device to use for online learning. So
Including teachers, huh? Not all teachers have these devices.
So I don't know how viable this would be, especially in the near future. Like a lot of parents have been asking, how would classes be conducted next school year? So yeah,
Who do you want to answer your question?
anyone can answer the question.
Are you
Oh.
a philo major?
Sorry?
Are you a philosophy major?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was a student.
Let me tell you a short story. At one point in my career, I worked for PhilWeb, which is a gambling company. Okay, it's online gambling, and one of the best guys that we ever hired was an applied physics major. We hired him by accident. Okay, there was a job fair in UP, and his friends were all econ majors for whatever reason. I guess there's not a lot of applied physics majors in UP anyway. But napasama lang siya. And you know, I interviewed him. He said, what the hell, right? So I interviewed him and I said, wait, this guy's like really smart, you know? So I hired him. His field, applied physics, had absolutely no relation to gambling whatsoever, right? But I said, okay, I want you to look at, since obviously he's good at math, I want you to look at the numbers of these things. And I want you to evaluate which games we make the most revenue from and which games have the most fraud. The guy was brilliant. He did it in like 2 days. He said, okay, these are the games that you need to promote because these ones have the biggest margin and they have the biggest volume, right? And then these are the games where you don't want to really promote these because actually you lose money on them. And these are the games where there's a lot of potential for fraud. And these are the ones where I think there's something funny going on. And so it was very interesting. The guy had really absolutely nothing to do with the field, but because of his intellectual training, he was really able to get a handle on it. And that's what I have to say. You know, it doesn't matter what you studied in college. What matters is how your mind works.
I agree absolutely. But what about our capacity for online learning? Maybe this is also for Lex or Jomar, who are also in education. That's the concern of BAM. Do you think we're ready for online learning?
Yeah, that's actually a very difficult question because even in UP, we don't know what to do for the next semesters. UP is preparing, but I think still the resources are not enough. That's why we are asking the help of UP Open University, but especially for those degree programs that need laboratory works, wala pang protocol. So I think the next steps here is if ever online or distance learning will not be possible and they need really to go to a certain place for the equipment, they need to have certain protocols. And that's why hindi naman talaga natin may iwasan na magkaroon ng physical appearance sa school, especially for certain degree programs. But I need I think we just need to have some protocols to minimize the risk. And yun yung kailangang planuhin ng mga universities, colleges, or even high schools.
Ben, I was talking to my sister and I was asking her, what about laboratory classes? And she told me all laboratories in industry are automated. So laboratory classes can be online.
I'd like to...
Ben, you're on mute.
Okay. Well, going back to before we go to that online science learning, yung with regards to remote education or distance education, as they say, UBOU, one of the pioneers yan, Open University. But when you want to enroll in an Open University program, they give you a readiness for distance learning test. Because lumalabas kasi not all people are really meant for it. I know some of my former students working in the corporate sector. They tried it pero it wasn't for them. Lumipat sila dun sa regular na residential program, yung attending class. And, that's one thing. It will entail a major cultural shift for us in terms of learning object, how to learn. Okay? Sabi nga nila, if they're kakapit tayo sa patalim, kung talagang kailangan mag-online, then we really have to try it, whether we're ready or not. Now, again, yung going back to internet infrastructure, maybe this will be the one that will really push the government and the investors to improve our terribly bad internet systems. Now, for online science learning, yes, some of them can be learned online, okay? But not all. Like in zoology, you may have to see the real specimen in the zoology laboratory. Baka nga we may have to design programs in which they would just have to come to the lab maybe once a month, but some of all the learning objectives can be done modular and delivered remotely, pati examinations remotely rin. So there are platforms for that, so we'll just have to look into it.
All right. We're in our last 10 minutes. I would like to ask Apa. You have young kids, right? So what are you concerned about their future education, or what are you like preparing them for online learning?
Well, one thing I'd like to cite is that the price of the appliances has really fallen. Okay, obviously you could buy an iPad or a MacBook that costs a lot of money. You could actually go before obviously the crisis. You could walk into Vera Mall and buy a 9-inch tablet run on Android for about 1,500 pesos. There's even cheaper ones out there, right? But that's an average price, 1,500 pesos. It's really not much, okay? I mean, I know it's an expense, but somehow we need to find a way to subsidize that expense so that students will have access to these appliances. Now, with regard to the bandwidth, yes, if you rely on commercial bandwidth from Globe and Smart and PLDT, it's really going to be deficient. I mean, I can see the lags and so on and so forth just in this conversation here. But an institution like UP can buy its bandwidth and distribute it. Again, it's another big cost, but it's not astronomical. It is actually within the realm of possibility. Ateneo for sure can afford it. UP, I think, could also afford it. The bigger institutions, they can afford this stuff. It's not that expensive. You can make that bandwidth available. And the reason that it's viable is that it doesn't take an internet call. When I say an internet call, it is a demand for information that goes all the way across a trans-Pacific cable somewhere to California, to the internet domain servers. and then comes back to the Philippines. No, this can be entirely intranet, entirely local. You know what I mean? And
All right. So you don't have to go. It's direction. There's no middle. There's no middle person.
exactly.
That's good to know. So we can actually provide the internet ourselves to the students. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's we're in our last 5 minutes. Alessandra and Bam, do you have your farewell words to our panelists or questions? So it has nothing to do with your major, Bam.
Well, if I remember Dr. Rodriguez saying before when this whole thing started was true philosophizing is really going with how people are and how people and being with the people. So I think we're being put in a difficult situation right now because we know that more people are at a disadvantage right now because not everyone has the capability to say sustain a stable internet connection or have a decent conducive place for learning in their own homes. So it's really sad. But then as we've heard today, what can we do? We have to adapt and maybe find more creative ways on how we can adapt to this new normal.
Yeah, and the solutions are there. The solutions are there. Even the mass testing, maybe the private sector will really have to do it. All right? So let me give each of you a chance to say your last words before we sign off. Do you want to start, Butch?
Okay, so my parting message is this. Yes, we are in a transition to new normal, but I'd like to assure the students and the graduates who are watching today that with the transition to new normal, there is always a possibility of a paradigm shift. When we say paradigm shift, there are innovations, changes in technology, advancements in technology. Now, if you are a fresh graduate, there is immense opportunity for you. So, hindi lahat negative about this new normal thing, no? As long as you use your cocotex, your brains, and you're very innovative, no? You can adapt very well into this new normal and shine. You can actually contribute more today than in our generation when we were your age. So sa akin, ang huli ko lang pasabi ay congratulations sa mga bagong graduates, and you will. Don't worry, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Thanks, Butch. See you next week. Lex or Jomar?
Sige. For me, I'm going to talk more on the data side as a data scientist, modeler. I think in order for us to be prepared for the future, kailangan talaga mapaganda natin yung data handling, database management ng government. At sana hindi lang basta mapaganda, dapat agad-agad. Kasi medyo mahabang laban ito, but kailangan natin mas mabilis tayo kaysa dun sa virus. There are some problems na last March pa yung problema, but until now hindi pa naayos. So sana, I think if nagtulong-tulong tayo, may open science, may open data, probably this could be solved agad-agad rather than being so delayed. Yes.
Thanks, Jomar. See you next week. And Lex or Bench?
Sige. Kasi palagi ako na-expose dun sa election counting, Sa tingin ko ngayon, baka kailangan natin ng katulad ng dati na mayroong operation quick counting para dito sa COVID-19. Kasi ang DOH, kinu-confirm niya kay mabagal talaga yun, Kaya dapat mayroong isang agency pa or na kumukuha ng mga data sa mga LGUs kasi para yung operation quick count para malaman natin yung sitwasyon, talagang sitwasyon ng COVID-19 sa Pilipinas. Parang na-April. Oo. Ganon.
Why not? And Benj, thanks Lexi next week.
Okay, so final words for this afternoon, no? I think the new normal presents us with good opportunities, no? Ako personally, my opinion is our global human society has more of the tools now to overcome the challenges of COVID. Even in science, na mabilis ngayon ang vaccine development, they're already trialing out in clinical tests. So that wasn't possible 10, 15 years ago. Also, yung distance education, we have more platforms and tools. So we can easily meet the challenges. You just have to have a positive, optimistic outlook for it. And of course, the only thing that is changeless is change itself. So we just have to adapt to it. And don't forget the basics, diba? Again, wash your hands. Don't put your hands to your face. And wear mask. Maintain physical distancing. I think that's the most important things. If second wave or no second wave, we have to really adopt that as the norm. I think that's about all.
Thanks, Ben. See you next week. And Apa, what will be your final words?
I think if the crisis teaches us anything, we will have to minimize our interactions with other people for a long time, not just for the next few months or whatever, but even into the next 10, 20 years. What this should teach us is to value those interactions and make them count.
That's true. Thanks, Apa. See you around in the internet, in the Facebook. Thanks. Till the next time.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bam and Alessandra, do you have a weekend planned? Before we say goodbye. You can say goodbye now, Bam and Alessandra.
Okay. I just want to thank the guests again for answering our questions. It was very informative, and I'm sure our viewers learned a lot. I, for one, learned a lot. So hopefully the situation will only get better from here, and we will find ways to adopt in the most efficient way possible. So yes, thank you again.
Thank you so much for.
Bye, Alessandra.
We learned a lot.
You're on mute.
We learned a lot. We hope that really, if it doesn't really come back to normal, we hope that we could really adapt, and I hope the government could provide more opportunities for people to adapt, because it's really difficult for a lot of people. So, but yeah, thank you for your time. We learned a lot, and we're hoping for the best.
All right. Once again, I'd like to thank our panelists. Thank you for answering our questions. And this really confirms that if we have the right information, if we have the right data, if we ask the questions, we can move forward with courage and with wisdom. Looking forward to next week. Let's just be happy, I suppose. All right. See you all. Bye.